we made it. It's the last part of the day. Everybody's tired. I will try to give some burst of energy right now, and I hope what I can say can be useful to some of you. My focus of my comments are going to be towards those who do educational gamification. So incorporate corporate education in elementary school or in university. I think this will be useful for anybody in those environments. If we start, the year is 2012. I'm teaching at this time at a university called Utah Valley University. I teach business classes in organizational behavior. And as I work with my students, I realize that they love their smartphones more than they love me. They will spend time on those smartphones between classes, sometimes during classes. I learned that if I just stand by the people who are playing the games, they'll kind of put them away discreetly. And I started to get a little jealous of those games, and I wanted to try to figure out a way. My students appear to be addicted to these games. Can I figure out a way to get them addicted to doing their homework? At this point in time, I come across this new word to me. I've never heard it before, this idea of gamification. And I do a little bit of reading, I'll be honest. I just kind of take the word at its face, gamification. You just make things into a game. And so I took several months with my class, and I built this. This was my first attempt at gamification, and you can see what I did here. I made all the classic mistakes, right? I just threw a leaderboard and some points at the students and to try to encourage them. What you see, there's a leaderboard there. I don't know if you can see this, it's a little faint. But these are actual Easter eggs. These were collectibles that I hid throughout the course. If you were taking a quiz or doing a test, you might see a little Easter egg, just an actual Easter egg, nothing too clever, just an actual picture of an Easter egg. And when one clicks on it, it goes into your basket. Congratulations, you found an Easter egg. If you look at the bottom, you'll notice which game I was playing a lot of at the time. It's the Angry Birds interface. There's the locks, and there are the little stars underneath. And as the students went through the content, they could unlock levels and mark their performance that way. I built this thing. I ran it through 3 semesters of students, got a bunch of data, asked a bunch of questions, and I'm an academic, so I do what academics do. I wrote a paper on it, I published it, and I started going around to different conferences and showing this thing off. And the response was pretty positive, and this question constantly came. This is great. How can I do this in my own course? And I had to just say, I'm sorry, you can't. This was me experimenting, trying to discover what I could do with gamification. If you're nerdy enough, if you look at the text there, that's JSON code that I have just embedded directly into the content of the LMS so that it would kind of act and behave the way I wanted to. There was no way I could share this with anyone. But this question, how can I do this in my course, got me to thinking, if I were to develop my own an environment, an educational gamification environment that anyone could use to add gamification to their courses, what would it need to look like? And as I thought about that, first off, I thought it needs to be able to be added directly into existing courses. I don't want people to have to recreate their entire courses from scratch to use my system. The second is I wanted to stay out of the business of pedagogy. I don't think that educational gamification should focus on pedagogy too much. It's about motivation and engagement. And so I wanted to leave pedagogy to the LMS itself. So I didn't want to have to recreate an environment with quiz engines and taking assignments and grade books. I didn't want to have to build all of that stuff. And so what I realized would be important is the ability to inject gamification directly into the current LMS that teachers are using, instead of creating a completely separate environment. Being able to inject these gamification elements right into the LMS, I also realized very quickly that this had to be flexible enough and powerful enough that I could meet anyone's imagination, that whatever they did, whatever they wanted this thing to look like, I needed to be able to accomplish that. If they wanted to brand it for their school, if they wanted to create a monkey's treehouse interface, I needed to be able to do that. And at the same time, this thing had to be very easy to use because a lot of teachers are not technically trained and don't have a lot of skills in technology. And so I needed something that anybody could use that would not be that difficult. So I got to thinking about that problem, and the next thing became Project Delphinium. If you look at Project Delphinium, this logo actually says a lot. The L and the P form a stem of a flower, and then you have these brightly colored leaves that come off from it. And then you have our tagline: stems plus leaves equals beauty and petals. Structure plus resources yields function and beauty. I'll come back to that in just a moment. This name, Delphinium, it was important to me that it be named Delphinium. As I started looking at this project, it was important to me that the metaphor be a flower, and I'll talk more about that. But as I began to look at the types of flowers and the meanings of flowers that are out there, I came across this one. This is the Delphinium. Delphinium is, if you look on the back, it's kind of got this dolphin nose look to it, which is where the Delphinium and Delphinium comes from. Dolphins are known for being very playful and fun. And if you look up the Delphinium on the internet somewhere for the meanings of flowers, roses mean love. Delphiniums mean fun, levity, joyfulness. And then that word, Delphinium, I don't know how it sounds in every other language, but in English it sounded like an alloy, a high-tech, fancy, technical kind of thing. So together in this word, we have a technology-sounding word which communicates the idea of fun and joy. So now I had a name for this thing. I need to explain why I picked a flower. As I thought about how this thing needed to work, the structure of a flower came to my mind. If you look at the parts of a flower, what you're going to see is that the roots bring in resources, the leaves bring in more resources, the stem provides structure, together they support the blossoms, which are the function of the flower, so it can attract insects and pollinate. So the blossoms are what this whole thing is about. So the blossoms themselves provide the functionality, and they're beautiful. And so I wanted to create an environment that provided structure and resources to teachers so that they could make something functional and beautiful at the same time. The technology, I've kind of lined it out there. These words here, stem, roots, blades, sepal, xylem, blossom, and greenhouse, these are actually modules in the technical platform that we've built. Roots is a tool that is used to connect Delphinium to the data that's in your LMS. Stem is a tool that adds metadata to the content that comes out of the LMS. Blade is our rules engine. Sepal is a tool that adds metadata for the students, so their alias or their avatar. Xylem is a tool that aids communication between third-party visualizations and game elements. Blossoms are the data visualizations and the game elements themselves. And then Greenhouse is a tool that you use to configure and work with the system. Let me speak just briefly about a little deeper on a few of those. Roots, this idea of roots is an important one. Roots has to be able to pull data from an LMS. And from the very beginning, I wanted to make sure that this was LMS agnostic. I did not want to prefer any one LMS over the other. And so in Delphinium, there is one file, one single file that is the gateway between whatever LMS you're doing. If you were to rewrite that one single file, it would work for Moodle or Sakai or Desire to Learn. The tool I'm using at my university is Canvas, and so what's written there is Canvas, but it was designed to very quickly be able to trade that out. So what Roots is able to do is to go and use the LMS's LTI interaction, that might be a little technical, and the APIs, query the data, bring it in to Delphinium, and then make it available to all of these blossoms. So the blossoms can do whatever they need with it. Stem is a tool that we put together to add metadata to the content that comes out of the LMS. What the LMS stores by itself is there's not enough data there to really gamify a lot of it. You can get points from behavior, but there's not a lot of information about the content itself. So using Stem, we're able to add two kinds of metadata. The first is a tag. Tags are very flexible. You can do a ton of things with them. By adding a tag to a piece of content, we can tell Delphinium what that content is for, or we can filter by it. For example, we could tag a piece of content with the tag pass-fail. So now, all of the content in the system I can pull out that is pass-fail and then modify the scores. So it behaves how I want it to in Delphinium, which adds functionality to the LMS. The other piece of information we're adding to all this content, if you look at it, we've got this kind of hierarchy structure. We're adding parent-child relationships to all of the content. If you have parent-child relationships with all this content, one of the things you can do is create a knowledge map. If you've used Khan Academy in the past, they have a knowledge map for all of the math in the world. In this system, this is my organizational behavior class. I've created a knowledge map out of all of the information it takes to manage and organize an organization. Okay, and Blossoms is the final piece of the tool I want to just focus on. Blossoms are just visualizations. I have a few up there. We've got health, current grade, experience, leaderboard. We are, as a team, we're constantly building more and more. The list continues to grow. We've got module interfaces, achievements, competency tracking, performance indicators, countdown timers, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at that list and you say, well, as a game element goes, that's not something, it's missing something that I would like to see. Delphinium was built from the ground up to play nice with others. So the tool exposes all of its own APIs so that as a developer, you could create your own plugin or component or game element. If you wanted to make a leafy tree that's growing that shows someone's progress, you can. We will do all the heavy lifting. We will connect with the LMS. We will bring the data forward so you can interact with it. We'll save your data for you. We will provide all the technology you need, so your model view controller, Laravel, Bootstrap, jQuery, D3, Font Awesome, all the stuff that you need to make beautiful, attractive looking visualizations. We'll make that available. And very quickly you can make your own visualizations. It might take you, 4 or 5 days to a couple of weeks to put together, depending on how complex what you're doing. We also have an app store environment so that you can place your wares in there and share them with other people. If you'd like to, you can sell them. Okay, very quickly, I'd like to show this video. If you'll go ahead and set this up. This is what it looks like to create a gamified environment very quickly. Go ahead and play this whenever you're ready. What you're going to see is oh, there we go. We got different screens. So here it is. I'm just going to add a little bit of HTML. If we go back to the LMS, sorry, here's my HTML. There's that HTML in the LMS. So we've very quickly added functionality to the LMS. Now drag and drop, I'm going to bring over a leaderboard. If I refresh the LMS, I have a leaderboard. I'm going to put in some more HTML and another, I think a health widget. And very quickly we have that new piece. So building out a gamified environment is something you can do very quickly. With just a little bit of code, this I think is 14 lines of code, I was able to build this. This is a course that I'm currently using. It is designed so that my students have no due dates and no course schedule. I want them to be able to explore the content at their leisure in their own direction, which is kind of a crazy go-nuts idea. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's kind of the point of Delphinium, creating crazy go-nuts environments that quickly, so that you can prototype and test and get that information out to people. I'm going to skip that one really quick. If the code looks too intense, I have created an interface where you can just directly input stuff into your system. Okay, this is not a product I'm selling. This is free for everyone who would like to have it. The only limits I put on it is I don't want to compete with myself in the market someday. So I think 500 students should get you pretty far. This is for researchers and for people who are experimenting with gamification. You want to push things far quickly. The problem with research that we have today is, I've done a lit review on educational gamification. There's not a lot of stuff out there. And one of the biggest complaints is we don't have tools that allows us to rapidly put stuff together and experiment and change and push on to the next thing. So I'm not trying to sell a product. I am trying to create a community out of you guys. I am hoping that you will come to our website. I am hoping that you'll join us on LinkedIn and that you will just, if you've got resources, if you have programmers, that you start to build something. If you don't have programmers, if you want to co-write a grant with me, maybe we can put together some resources there. If you just have ideas, I have a forum where I'm just collecting them, and we'll build everything as fast as we can get to them. I want to save a little bit of time for any questions you might have, but that's kind of the gist of it. This whole thing, Project Delphinium, is about freeing all of us to do faster, better research and production so that we're at a point in the literature and in the research of gamification where almost everything, I feel like a lot of stuff's been said. And there are a lot of intuitive models out there. We are not at a point where we have empirically driven, research-driven models. And I think the limiting factor is just our tools. Delphinium is about eliminating that obstacle. I'll stop there.
Thank you.